organisation and to ensure that it can be understood and reinforced by an organisation is collaboration. Unfortunately, I've seen far too many examples of where marketing sits as a silo within an organisational context, and its impact on the wider organisation through the sales process, through customer service, through PR and communications, often tends to get sidelined. Marketing needs to be seen as a whole of organisation approach to ensure it is effective. What I'd like to do now is work through the methodology that we often use in developing marketing plans so that we can look through a number of elements that we often find deliver effective marketing outcomes. Now, there's no right or wrong way to deliver marketing. There's no right or wrong way to deliver a marketing plan. But this is the methodology that we utilise. We were a finalist in last year's Australian Marketing Institute's Marketing Awards for Excellence, and this is a methodology that we've utilised with our clients across both the business and not-for-profit sectors, as well as in developing social enterprises. And we like to break it down into a framework that encompasses 3 phases. The first being the capturing phase, and this is where you look at the research and the analysis of information. The strategy phase, and this is where you apply the thought process to what that data actually means, building into some recommendations that then impact on the final phase, being that delivery phase, where you identify the resources that are required and confirm the timeframes. Once again, this is where collaboration is particularly important. A marketing plan will often impact other aspects of an organisation, and you need to ensure that the timeframes that are identified are firstly achievable, and secondly, that the resources are available if you are working in with other departments. We like to consider that our plans follow a 50-50 approach, and that's looking at 50% research and 50% strategy. A number of attendees in this morning have actually been clients of ours, and no doubt they'll be familiar with our methodology and the fact that there is quite a substantial amount of research to identify the marketing outcomes and to justify the recommendations that we provide. Research allows you to identify potential competitors, not just existing competitors, but also emerging competitors. It allows you to identify similar products and services. It allows you to look at key demographics and trends that may impact on your delivery. It allows you to understand the broader marketing context. Are there regulatory changes that may impact your ability to deliver services? Is there new legal frameworks that may impact service delivery? Are there emerging risks on the horizon that need to be understood and mitigated? And it allows you to also identify other areas that may need to be tackled through the marketing plan. Ultimately, research informs your strategies. If you don't have the right research, you're not going to be able to undertake the right strategic direction for your organisation. Obviously, research tends to be as big or as small as you like to make it. So where do you start? Well, you start by understanding who are your existing and likely customers. What are their demographics? What other stakeholders do you need to consider? Bearing in mind that marketing is more than just about the service delivery aspect of your organisation. It's more than just looking at your end clients. It's about how do you interface with your board members? How do you work with volunteers? How does your membership and your members fit into your broader marketing strategy? How do you communicate to those members? How do you work with funding partners, and what marketing approach do you need for funding partners to ensure that they're on side in terms of your service delivery? Who are your competitors? Particularly looking at grants and funding partners, every organisation has a form of competition. So how do you leverage the strengths of your organisation to provide that edge in terms of receiving funding income? And what other factors will influence your marketing? Many of you are probably familiar with the situational analysis, otherwise known as the Swot analysis. And the Swot analysis looks at both the internal and the external factors. SWOT analysis tend to be a tried and true sort of methodology that tends to be used, but they are quite a useful tool, particularly in getting other personnel involved in marketing. It allows you to quickly identify the internal factors that are relevant to your organisation. So looking at the strengths and weaknesses that can be controlled by your organisation. As I mentioned, you want to leverage those strengths. Understand what your core strengths are, because ultimately they are going to be able to provide you with a competitive advantage. Conversely, do understand weaknesses and ensure that you're able to control those weaknesses so that they don't become emerging threats, as well as also the external factors. So the opportunities that are both current as well as potential emerging opportunities. And then the threats and risks that exist. So the threats that are both current and may be likely in the future. Where you need to actually analyse a SWOT analysis is not just in listing each of those items, but in understanding particularly how likely each of those factors are to occur. How likely are the opportunities that you have identified? How likely are those threats or risks? And depending on how probable they are, what can you undertake to influence their likelihood? Marketing has a number of interfaces with risk management, and this is where it's particularly important to understand what those risks are so that you can mitigate them, and how probable they are as well. Obviously, the more probable and the more serious a threat is, the more you want to actually take the time to understand how they can be mitigated. Conversely, looking at how probable and how likely an opportunity is will allow you to actually devote the time to actually develop that opportunity and enable you to leverage your strengths to take advantage of that. I'd like to pause for a moment and just take a quick snapshot around how many of your organisations that you're here representing today actually have a current marketing plan. Over to you, Sarah.
Great. So this is a simple yes or no question. So does your organisation actually have a marketing plan? And I think this is going to be really interesting to get some insight from Alex, don't you?
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's interesting. This is a question that I often ask at a number of presentations that I deliver. And as time goes on, I've increasingly seen the yes responses increase. And it's great to see that we're almost at a position of, well, 40-60 split here, but it's great to see that the yes responses keep on increasing. A marketing plan is